that, I'm going to restart a little bit. Now, what we are doing today is to discuss the PTDF interview process and to show you the things you need to do in order to win the scholarship. The PTDF interview is one of the critical steps that you must go through in order to win the scholarship. You can't just win the you can't just win the scholarship on the pure basis of somebody has applied. You need to go through an interview process to be able to win the scholarship. Now, the interview is something that everybody sees in different ways. And there are people who kind of do not believe that they can win it. There are others who believe that they can. And those who believe they can are often the people who end up winning the scholarship. Now, if you are going for the interview, you need to prepare as though you are going to win, because winning is what you have to do, and that's what you need to achieve. Now, for many of us, for many of the applicants, they will think that, oh, if I don't know somebody in Abuja, I'm not going to win. But for those who have the right guidance, who have the right understanding about the scholarship, they know that you can actually win the scholarship without having to trouble yourself with anybody. We're not going to spend too much time on that. We'll head on straight to your expectations on the day of the interview, the kind of things you should expect to see, the way the interview is structured, the process that you have to go through, or that you're going to see on that day. First of all, it's important to mention that your interviewers are going to be from the academia mainly. So people from the academia will be the ones coming to interview you. And because they are coming from the academia, you know what that means. You know that you are supposed to dress in a certain way. You know that you're supposed to comport yourself in a certain manner. You know that you're supposed to carry yourself in a certain way, and expect lecturers who are able to ask you questions, who have deep understanding about the field that you're coming to present to them. So you need to really prepare very well. Number two, when you get to the center of the interview, you typically should try to be there very early so that you don't get yourself worked up like what has happened to us today. We wanted to start by 9, tech problems here and there, and that's kind of restructuring the way we are going. You don't want to be in that situation when you go for your interview. You want to prepare early. You want to get there early enough so that when you reach there, you will be able to you have time to settle yourself down, organize yourself, and then go through the processes that will be awaiting you. First on the list will be that when you get there, you are going to experience something. Please, if you're on Twitter, just repost this message. If you're on Facebook, share the message as well, so that other people who had missed out and other people who are connected can reconnect back, and then we can make progress. So when you get there, the first thing you will notice is that you will be asked to write your name. You'll be asked to fill a form somewhere, an attendance form, more or less. So you fill out your name, fill out your details, discuss the things that you have come there to, like the details of your department and all that kind of stuff. Once you have done that, then you need to now sit out and wait for your time. You need to sit and wait for the time that you get called in. Oh. So you need to sit and wait for the time that you get called in. And once you get called into the interview, then you have to you have to prove your identity. Your identity is what you prove first. And then, a moment. A moment, please. So you need to prove your identity, and the proof of your identity is that you have to first show two things. Number one, you will prove that you are coming from the local government from which you are coming, because what's going on here? Okay. So you, what is all this? That's not what I need to do. All right. So you need to prove your identity. That's number one. And after you've proven your identity, then the people are going to walk you through a number of things. They're going to verify your documents. They're going to verify your results. They're going to verify your memberships of professional bodies. They're going to verify your publications, if you have any publications, or if publications are relevant to the level of the scholarship that you're applying for. And then when all of these are done, then the interview itself starts proper. The interview is now going to be between three people. There will be three people seated there, but only two people are going to actually get involved in the interview process. There will be one person from PTDF, there will be two people from the academia, and those academic men, the two people from the academia, will be the ones running the interview. They'll be the ones asking you questions, they'll be the ones you are answering questions to, and all that. They are the people who will run your interview. And because they are the ones that will run your interview, you need to, of course, prepare very well to be able to answer their questions. Then, in addition to that, there will be somebody else who sits there like a moderator. Well, call it a secretary. That person who will be seated as a secretary there will be the person that kind of organizes the whole process. That will be the person who goes out to invite you, who comes in to say, okay, the next person should come in and all that kind of setting. But this person will not in any way interfere with the process of your interview. All right. Then you get those things done, and then begins the interview itself. Then begins the interview properly. In the interview, you will find that every other person who comes in there will have to answer a certain number of questions. They are going to go through some questions that they must answer. And when they answer those questions, they are going to kind of, be graded. Now, people wonder what happens and how does PTDF get to grade me against people from my state? Because I always tell people that the PTDF scholarship is a competition against people from your own state. So there will be people who are applying from your own state, and those are the people you are actually competing against. And because you are competing against people from your own state, that's the whole essence of you presenting your local government identification identity as before they even let you do the interview. They will ask you to present your local government identification details, that document you get from the local government. And then after you've shown them that document, they now go through your other documents, your results, your all that kind of stuff to be able to start doing your interview. The interview is going to run for different periods. For some people, it will be less shorter. For some other people, it will be longer. It all depends on the nature of the conversation and how much of interest your research topic generates for the people, and then how much of details they need to clarify in the process of the interview. But everything about your interview is going to be centered around three different things. I'll get to that just shortly, but for now, this is the sequence of events that you're going to see. You get there, you get yourself registered, then you get called into the interview location, then you get to identify yourself as coming from your local government. After you've identified yourself, they're going to verify your documents, your results, your membership of professional bodies. After that, then they go into asking you questions. Now, when they ask you questions, your questions are going to revolve around three main things. Three main things. The first part is to understand, and this is the bigger part, is to understand your knowledge of your research proposal or statement of purpose that you submitted to PTDF. So during your PTDF interview, you expect these three things or questions around these three things. One is questions around your SOP or your research proposal. The second part of the questions will be questions around your understanding of PTDF as a body. And then the third part of the question will be some questions that will try to understand, to investigate your understanding of how your research or how your study will be relevant to the oil and gas industry or to Nigeria's economy. All the three questions, all the areas of questions you'll be asked will revolve around these three things. First is going to be maybe to discuss your research proposal or to discuss your SOP. That's going to be the main conversation. And then you have to master this SOP that you have submitted. If you have forgotten anything, go back there, read it, and this time don't just read it from the position of memorizing it. Read it from the position of mastering it. When I say mastering it, I mean that you understand why you have written something, you understand the sentences, and you understand the reasons behind those sentences. You understand the applications of those sentences. So if somebody has said that I'm going to study mechanical engineering, you want to understand why are you studying mechanical engineering and how is that mechanical engineering relevant to PTDF's goals and then relevant to Nigeria's economy. Once you think within this framework, you'll be able to give them the right answers for every question that they are going to ask you during this interview. That's just the way it works. First of all, you'll be given and again, it depends. And that's why you need to prepare. That's why you need to master it and be able to think in the framework that you need to think in very properly. Because somebody gets into the interview, a standard interview process, and they're asking you maybe to tell them about yourself. With PTDF, it's slightly different. They are likely not even going to ask you to tell us about yourself in that particular word-for-word format, but they may ask you some questions that will pull out the same answer from you. Now, and if you had prepared in such a manner that you're going to be asked, tell us about yourself, and then you get into the interview location and nobody is asking you to tell them about yourself, you very quickly get disorganized and then you lose coordination in the process. But if you prepare in this three framework, either to know your research proposal or your master's degree work, or to know the implications of that work, the relevance of that work to the goals of PTDF, or to know the relevance of that work to the energy industry and to Nigeria's economy, all the questions that you get asked will fall into one of those categories. Now, you go in there and then somebody says, well, I am looking at you, I've gone through your documents, and then I want to know why you feel like you deserve this scholarship. All right, you see, that's like a very tricky question that gives you the same or that requires the same answer as tell us about yourself. Because in tell us about yourself, you are trying to prove that you are the best candidate, you are the most qualified. In why do you deserve this scholarship? You are also trying to prove that you are the best qualified. Now, there are people who get in there and make the mistake of thinking that when you are asked to tell them why you qualify for the scholarship, that when you qualify to ask you why you qualify for the scholarship, then you need to go on and discredit other applicants. No, if you are the one that gets that question, you need to first of all recognize that this is my advice. Actually, you need to first of all recognize that other candidates are also good enough. Because that way you are showing that yes, you know the strengths of the other people, but this particular strength that you have is what makes you different from the rest of the people. So you go in there and you're like, well, you understand that everybody who has come this far in this process have good qualifications and have good potentials to contribute to the country and to serve Nigeria, maybe to make good use of this opportunity. But I think that but here is why I stand out. I have done this, I have achieved this. This is how relevant the study I'm going for will be to the economy. And this is how relevant this study is going to be to Nigeria's economy. This is how relevant, this is how it applies and all that. A typical example will be this. If you have mastered your SOP, you will be able to quantify the impact of the study you are going to do on the Nigerian economy or on the PTDF, or as a contribution to the goals of the PTDF. Say, for instance, somebody is going to study maybe something in mechanical engineering, and you're going there to study, let's say, predictive maintenance. If you go there as somebody who has come in to study predictive maintenance, you want to look at Nigeria's oil and gas environment. And you want to now say that within the Nigerian oil and gas scope, these are the problems we have. And this is how a lack of predictive maintenance culture has cost us this number of barrels, has cost us this amount of money, has set our production back at this particular time. Again, you may not find data for Nigeria specifically, but you can look at data from other countries that are more open about their processes, like the United Kingdom or the United States. You can say, well, for instance, you can go to ChatGPT and search for something like where examples of where a lack of predictive maintenance affected the oil and gas industry in the US, or affected the oil and gas industry in the UK, or maybe in Saudi Arabia, or maybe in Nigeria. And then that example becomes what you use to frame your answer. Let's say, for instance, that because a company has not maintained its processes for a particular period of time, then the company went into a shutdown process because an equipment eventually failed. And the company had to spend 5 days to bring that equipment back on stream. Then within that process, the company was supposed to be producing, let's say, 50,000 barrels of oil per day. And you're looking at 5 days of shutdown because of a lack of culture of predictive maintenance. You now see that the company has lost 250,000 barrels within that period. The 250,000 barrels of oil that was lost, how much money would this have provided the company or returned to the company as revenue within this period? Within that period, you are doing, like, say, $100 times 250,000, and then you see the amount of money that would have made. Quantify the impact of your research, quantify the impact of your study when you go for the interview. That is one critical thing that most people may be missing out, and that is how you stand out in the interview itself. So if you go to the interview, everybody will read their research proposal. Everybody will come prepared. They have read their SOP. But what makes the difference between those who come to this live stream and the people who did not come for the live stream is in your ability to quantify impact. Now, this is why it matters. If your research or your study is going to provide a solution that gives us like 200,000 naira at the end of a year, the impact of your work is 200,000 naira at the end of a year, and another person's research is going to give us 200 million at the end of the year, the person who is running that interview will be tempted to incline or tilt towards the person whose impact is going to generate more money. All right, that's the way it works naturally. If you're watching us on any of the platform, please drop a message in the comment section. Just type PTDF scholarship interview in the comment section. Now, when you get there, you want to quantify the impact. Now, this example I've given deals with barrels of oil produced per day, but there is also another kind of impact where you are trying to reduce environmental implications of oil and gas operation. Let's say, for instance, those of you who might be going into the environmental science interview section, then you are applying to say that your study is going to conduct, you are going to conduct a study on, say, let's just say you are going to conduct a study that deals with CO2 sequestration or CO2 capture from the environment. When you get there, you're not going there to say, oh, I'm going to do a study on CO2 capture, and I believe that CO2 capture it aligns with the United Nations goals, and because of that, I want to go and study it. You have told them how CO2 capture aligns with the United Nations goals, but you've not told them the relevance of that your CO2 capture to Nigeria. Does Nigeria need it? How is CO2 affecting Nigeria? But somebody else comes in there to say, well, I'm going to study CO2 capture because in Nigeria we have this problem of CO2 saturation in our environment. Then the person goes on to refer to the case that happened in Port Harcourt some years ago, where they had black suits. So the person says, in Port Harcourt, we had a problem of black soot at this period when houses were getting dirtied up with black soot coming from CO2, and individuals were also breathing in this part of the gas into their system. And this gas is known to maybe cause cancer in high quantities if consumed by humans or if taken in by human beings. And this is the implication. This is how it's affecting our environment. It causes acid rain in the environment, and it's degrading our metallic infrastructure and our concrete infrastructure. You see, this person is coming from a different approach. The person has not just said one thing, that the United Nations wants it, and so I'm going to do it. This is how it is impacting my environment, and this is how it is harming Nigeria. So your impact could be on two things: something that improves the economy of Nigeria, something that improves the safety of Nigeria, or something that improves the safety of oil and gas operations in Nigeria, and something that brings more revenue to the oil and gas industry. Those are two ways you can very easily quantify the impact of your study. Do not make the mistake of not quantifying the impact of your study during your interview. This is very critical, and this is going to be very helpful to those of you who are listening to me today. Now, let's look at other examples. Let's say you are somebody who is going for, you remember I mentioned three things. One is your understanding of the course you're going to study. Two is your impact. We have discussed the impact examples. We can give other examples of impact. For instance, if I have somebody who is going to study a particular thing, I can think of examples that I can give you. But the easiest way you can get a very quantifiable impact for your study is go to ChatGPT, take that your research proposal, upload it to ChatGPT, then ask ChatGPT to give you possible ways in which this study is going to help your country. If there are no examples for your country, ask it for how it has helped an oil and gas operation somewhere in another country. And this is not for you to now copy paste that answer. It is for you to have examples that you now adapt to your specific environment, to your specific country. And once you're able to do all of this, you see yourself standing out in the interview process. That is on impact. Now, let's look at your understanding of the course that you're going to study. Somebody is going to study something, and let's say your research proposal, I'm going to use PhD in this case. Let's say somebody has proposed to study what now? I don't know who is going to study what. If you don't mind, you can drop it in the comment section. But let's say somebody is going to study drilling optimization, and you've written a research proposal on drilling optimization. The interview panel may want to ask you about why that's course, right? You discuss that in the impact form. Then they may want to ask you to probe into your understanding of what you are proposing to study. How do they do this? Typically, they can decide to ask you about your methodology. Because if you have really thought through the thing you are proposing, then there needs to be a proposed methodology to the study. They may come like in my case, they were asking if I wanted to do a quantitative study or a qualitative study. For anybody who is going into research, there has to be an understanding of the approach you are going to use for your study. Are you going to do quantitative study, or are you going to do qualitative study? Quantitative study is practically everything that has to do with experiments. That is quantitative, because you're going to pick data, you're going to analyze data, you're going to take data from the lab, you're going to do all of that. Also, things that are related to simulation, like you're going to do a simulation in ANSYS, you're going to do a simulation in Aspen HYSYS, you're going to do a simulation in COMSOL, you're going to do any of those other simulations, or even the things that people code sometimes. Many of these will go into the quantitative study aspect. But qualitative studies are those studies that involve the use of questionnaires, right? So you're going to conduct a survey, you're going to look at human behavior, human responses, how relationships with oil and gas companies are affecting oil and gas production in Nigeria, or how community relationships are affecting or slowing down oil and gas operations in Nigeria, all of those kind of things. Anything that is quantitative usually is going to have a lab component, a simulation component, something that has to do with data. Then qualitative studies are going to assess human behavior or attitude of people to something, and any of those kind of things. They are going to mostly be from the management environment. But you need to understand your methodology. Now, the interview panel may also want to query you on the methodology you are proposing. They're going to say something like maybe that will help them understand that you know and you are sure that the methodology you are proposing can actually solve that problem. Then somebody goes like, what will you do if, for instance, this methodology you are proposing becomes unrealistic in the environment? That means that you have your proposal, you have your methodology, everything sorted out, but something happens along the line and you are not able to go through that particular route. What are the other contingencies? What are the possible challenges you may expect in that study? These are things you need to think through, because those challenges will always be available in research, sometimes in abundance. So you need to think about it. Then your understanding, if you have proposed something like CO2 sequestration, the panel may want to ask you something around to probe that you really understand that CO2 sequestration. This goes for everybody, master's, PhD, anything. And they might come from the angle of how is CO2 captured, or how, in what state is CO2 stored, right? Because you know that when you capture CO2, you don't store it as a gas. In many cases, you're going to capture it and then you sequestrate it underground in the form of in a supercritical state. So this understanding of your cost, that's where the understanding of your proposal or the understanding of what you are proposing to study really comes in. Master it to the best that you can. Think about it as though you are going for a project defense, because actually that is what you are going for, because the people there are going to be from the academia. And once they are from the academia, you need to prepare actually to be able to defend what you have proposed to study and to be able to defend what you truly want to study there. That's the way it works. Now, if you do all of this, then the third component that you want to bring in is your understanding of PTDF. What is PTDF? Why was PTDF created in the first place? What is even the full meaning of PTDF? As minor as that question looks like, that was a question that I got during my interview. So the way they asked it was something around, you are applying for this, who are you applying to sponsor you? And then because most of us use PTDF most of the time, I just said I'm applying to the PTDF. And then the person was like, oh, so what is PTDF? That was when it clicked to me that they wanted me to actually mention the full meaning of that abbreviation. And if you know the full meaning of the abbreviation, drop it in the comment section right there. I just want to see, because some people are going to go now and say that PTDF means Parents Teachers Forum. Let's just see what you're going to write in the comment section. But you need to know the full meaning, and then you need to know the goals, the mission of PTDF. Because when you know the mission of PTDF, that comes into part of your answers when you are asked the questions to even define the relevance of your course. Because if your course gives you a preparation or how you are going to use that course, relevance of that course to the Nigerian economy, you can look at it from the aspect of helping the oil and gas industry, the aspect of reducing emissions. That's correct, Evelyn. Petroleum Technology Development Fund, that's correct. So if your course is going to be relevant to reducing emission, that's fine. If your course is going to be relevant to improving revenue, that's also fine. But if you are going to come back and say that after studying this course, I'm also going to use this course to empower people in Nigeria through capacity development or through capacity building, because you know that PTDF is designed to develop local capacity in Nigeria. That local capacity in Nigeria is what PTDF is set out to do, and they are focused on that. That is even the reason why they are taking you from Nigeria to another country to study. They want to do human capital development. They want to develop you as a person. All right. And because they want to develop you as a person, that's why they are taking you from Nigeria. There is also this other tricky question that may come. And this question will be in the form of, why do you think that your study cannot be conducted in Nigeria? And I say it's tricky because it's expected that PTDF already knows that you have applied for OSS. That's true. That's something they know. But they want to see that you really have gone through the details of this study that you are looking at, and you understand how important what you're going to do is. Now, look at it this way. PTDF is giving you a scholarship that is worth millions. If you come to the UK, which I'm going to use as an example, In the UK, you'll be given the opportunity to study in a school where, for instance, the tuition is about 32 million naira per year. In some of the other schools, the tuition is going to cost close to 50 million. In schools where they charge like 26,000 pounds, your tuition is running almost to 50 million naira. That's your tuition alone. And then PTDF is also going to pay you a stipend. If you are coming for the PhD, the stipend is somewhere around 21,000 plus pounds per year in the UK. Now, add up that money. You are looking at something that is almost building up to like 60 million naira or more, depending on the school you are going to. Now, if somebody is going to send you to study and to conduct a research in that kind of environment, you need to really be serious about it. You need to be able to prove to the person that this study you are going to conduct abroad is worth going abroad to spend that money on. Now, when they ask you this question, some people will be tempted, and you need to avoid this temptation because many people will fall into it. If you are asked why your study should be funded abroad, you don't want to go, oh, this study is not going to be good in Nigeria, or Nigeria is not good enough for my study, or the Nigerian universities are broke, there is strike and all that kind of thing. The reason you don't want to go that route, even though you know it could be true, is that the people interviewing you are people who work in the Nigerian educational system. That's the most likely group that's coming to interview you. Of course, there are times when they fly in people from abroad to come and run the interview. But regardless, Nigeria is your country, and the educational system in Nigeria is not something you go there to badmouth. The essence of the interview is not for you to remind them how bad the Nigerian educational system is to prove to them why that study has to be conducted abroad. Now, look at it this way. There are some studies, for instance, that cannot be done in Nigeria because the labs are not just there. If you are looking at something maybe from a nano perspective or a micro, a molecular level, those studies might not be possible in Nigeria because of the labs. Where the labs are not available, that's a particular special case. But again, you don't know all the labs that are available in Nigeria, so you don't want to hinge all your reason around the fact that there are no labs, except you are absolutely sure that these labs are not existing. So even when you mention the labs, you want to mention it from a perspective of based on your knowledge. So you are going to say something like, based on what I know, the labs. All right. So you need to prove your identity. That's number one. And after you've proven your identity, a moment. So when you get in there, you have to now look at it from that position of, well, based on my research, I understand that this study may not be possible in Nigeria because there are no labs that do this and all that, or we don't have the supercomputing capacities required for this study to be successfully conducted in Nigeria. But most importantly, that you also want to have this opportunity to study outside of the country. Interesting. So you want to also say that you want to have this opportunity of studying outside the country because it gives you the opportunity to understand the processes that work in other countries. For instance, you're coming to the UK, and the United Kingdom has been like developing technologies for oil and gas for a very long time. So you can come from the angle of you want to be able to get close to these industries, understudy what they do and why what they are doing have been working for them, how they've managed to develop those processes. You want to go in there to be able to get close, to build the right networks around that environment, to be able to understand this process. Now, do not stop at just saying that you're going there to build networks or to understudy companies. Somebody can go there, understudy the companies, and never return to Nigeria. So that knowledge remains with the person over there. You are looking at it from the perspective of, and that's why I said, think in the framework of how is it relevant to PTDF, how is it relevant to Nigeria, and your understanding, a detailed understanding of your course. So you are saying that, okay, this course, I'm going to study it in this place. I'm going to understudy these companies. I'm going to network around these places to learn from those people. Because when I learn it, this is how it's going to now return benefit back to Nigeria. All right, this is how it's going to return benefits to Nigeria. For instance, if I come to the UK and I've mastered how companies pay attention to maintenance, and I came here to study predictive maintenance, and I have mastered how this works in the UK, how am I going to translate that back to Nigeria to be useful in Nigeria? Two ways. One is or three ways. I can come back to Nigeria and get employed to a company and then decide to lead the team along that direction. Number two, I can set up a company in Nigeria that is going to now start offering that new process to companies in Nigeria as a service. And then number three, I can decide to go on an awareness creation campaign. For instance, in my case, I am doing a research on well abandonment, which is something that is not very popular in Nigeria at the moment. I think the only company that has done significant work in well abandonment is Shell, which is now Renaissance. That's onshore most of the time. And then somewhere in the Bunga field, they have done some well abandonment work. But how can I say, if I'm in your interview state and I'm going to tell PTDF, this is what I am going to study, and this is why I'm going to study it in another country, I could say something like, well, based on my understanding, the United Kingdom has gained or built mastery of well abandonment, given how mature the oil and gas basin is. And because of their vast experience, I know that if I get there, I'll get this understanding, I'll master this process. And this is how mastering this process will now be relevant to Nigeria. I will write conference papers on this to come to present in NIES in Nigeria, which is the SPE conference in Nigeria, or come to present in NAPI in Nigeria, so that I'm able to disseminate this information or these lessons back to the industry in a place where the industry gathers to learn technical stuff. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. In addition to that, as I go on to create awareness, I'm also going to organize maybe some classes or maybe some technical capacity building for people from the Niger Delta to increase our human capital strength in this particular field, so that when the time comes for Nigeria to abandon wells, we will not depend on international expatriates to come deliver the process for us. So you are beginning to think about or communicate the benefits of this thing you're going to study to Nigeria. All right, you are beginning to communicate the benefits of this thing that you're going to study to Nigeria. That is the way you reason these things. That's the way you think about it, and that's the way you frame your answer. So don't go there with a selfish perspective. Don't go there to tell them don't go there to tell them how studying abroad has been your childhood dream. Nobody cares about that. It could have been your childhood dream, but your childhood dream should not necessarily be funded by your country. It's not a compulsory for Nigeria to fund your childhood dream. So what Nigeria is interested in funding are the things that will be relevant to Nigeria, things that will help Nigeria, and you must be able to articulate how your study is relevant to Nigeria. This is dependent on the way the question comes to you, and this is dependent on how much interaction you have with the people. Now, there are also some other times when you get into the interview. Remember, I said I'm sharing experiences. The experiences cuts across my own experiences of friends, and experiences of various people that I know who have won the scholarship. So there are people who get in there, and you may have like an area of disagreement. Say, for instance, you said you are going to study how to develop a particular process that is going to use or require a particular material that's not available in abundance, or a material that has a competitive use. So the material you want to use for your study has, let's say, an alternative use in maybe in the food industry or in the manufacturing industry. Somebody there might decide to say, well, we know that you're going to use this material, but there's another sector of the economy that uses this material, and we don't have this material in abundance in Nigeria. So if you are talking about using this material in the oil and gas industry, that means the material needs to be available in large volumes or in large quantity. But we don't have this material in Nigeria, or we don't have sufficiency of this material in Nigeria. How are you going to meet that shortage, or how are you going to define or defend yourself in the midst of that shortage? Now, there are two things, and this is something you need to look back on your proposal, on your SOP. if the research or the study you are proposing requires a material in Nigeria, you need to understand, you need to at least be able to look back into that material and find out, does this material, do we have this material in Nigeria? Are we going to import this material? Is there an opportunity that presents itself for us to be able to make this material in Nigeria? Or is there an opportunity for us to be able to process this material in Nigeria? So if we don't have the capacity to process those materials in Nigeria, you may want to reframe your work slightly different from that, because somebody can pick on that, and if they do pick on that, that becomes a very valid argument that they can have, and on which basis you'll be thrown off balance. Because if you say, for instance, that you are going to offer a solution to the oil and gas industry, and this solution is going to require, let's say, a particular food material, and we don't produce that, or let's say even a particular natural solid mineral that we don't have in Nigeria, then, or we have it in Nigeria but in limited quantity, let's just say 5 tons, and the solution you are going to propose requires 20 tons of it. We have 5 tons in Nigeria, you are requiring 20 tons. What happens is that your study either becomes limited to Nigeria alone, or limited in terms of scope. Let's say in terms of that volume that's available, the 5 tons that's available, the quantity, or the study becomes something that requires us to import from another place, which then means that we are losing some value in terms of foreign exchange. But if your study is such that the material is not sufficient in Nigeria, you want to frame your answer. You want to do 2 things. Either you find an alternative before the interview date, or when you get to the interview, you need to frame your answer around export of that technology after you develop it. So you are developing the technology as a Nigerian, and you are perfecting the technology as a Nigerian, but the benefit of the technology to Nigeria is not necessarily a direct use of the technology to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. Is a direct benefit in terms of export. So you master that technology as a Nigerian, you are exporting the technology to Ghana. Ghana is paying Nigeria foreign currency, and that is the benefit Nigeria gets from it. So interview is usually the way you think, and the way you think is what I want to help us to shape today. There are usually going to be an answer, but you need to be able to think fast. You need to be able to have a balance of these things, and that's why you need to practice all these things. Practice your work as responding to understanding of the work, responding to benefit of the work to the PTDF, that's the goals, how it aligns with the PTDF goals, or the benefit to the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian oil and gas industry. If you can think about your work in this framework, you will have an answer for every question. So they say, oh, your work does not have sufficient materials in Nigeria to be able to make it useful to the oil and gas industry at scale in Nigeria. You are saying, well, I know that this is not going to be able to help the industry at scale, but have sufficient quantity to be able to perfect this technology within the Nigerian oil and gas space. And then we are going to export this material because it's going to bring foreign exchange to Nigeria when we master it and becomes an export. Or you now go back to say, well, I know that this material is not in abundance, but we're going to master it. And then the alternative material that's available and in abundance in Nigeria is this one. Or the material is not in abundance as a natural mineral or as a solid mineral occurring naturally, but this material can be fabricated in the lab. We know that this lab in this place has been able to synthesize this material. So we are not just depending on the natural one, we're going to make use of synthesized material or synthesized products. And in fact, that this synthesized one has shown to be purer or to be more useful because we don't need further refining. All right, so you see the way I'm responding to this. I'm able to think about it this way because I am an oil and gas engineer myself. So I understand how the industry operates and how things can be useful within the industry. And again, because I have also done this particular series over and over. That's why you need to practice. You need to take out time to practice. In fact, I will advise you, try to find somebody from your environment who can sit down with you and listen to this interview. Master how you talk, master the points you are making, know the reasons for the points you are making, and see how to back that up. That is the way you think about the interview. You don't need to have all the answers perfect, but you need to be able to show that you have an understanding of where you are going to, because nobody is going to spend 80 million on you. Nobody is going to spend 60 million on you or 30 million on you just for free. You need to be able to prove that you really merit this and you qualify for this particular scholarship application this time. I don't know if you have questions coming in already, but someone is saying for masters, is it compulsory to have a research? No. If you are going for a master's degree, what you have is your SOP, your statement of purpose. That is what you are going with. When I mention research proposal, it is for PhD people. But the whole understanding of how you should answer the question is the same for whether you are going for PhD or going for a master's. If you're going for a master's, you need to also understand why your course is going to be useful to the industry. And I know it's more tricky for the master's people because you're going to either study maybe mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, or any of those, but you need to have the way I like to say it is this. If you are going for a master's and your course is a particular thing, think about that course as think about the possible project topic you will do after studying that course. So you are going to study mechanical engineering. I've used mechanical before. Let's say you're going to study electrical engineering and you are looking at maybe automation. And then you are, of course, coming there to talk about your electrical engineering, but from the perspective of how this particular unique aspect that you want to conduct your project in will be helpful. So, because this may not have been clearly stated in your statement of purpose, depending on who you listen to before writing your statement of purpose. But if you watched our videos in the process of application, your statement of purpose should be good enough, because we mentioned the reasons why you should write these things into your statement of purpose at the time. So if you have that statement of purpose saying that this is why and this is how this will be useful, then you just want to master it, such that if they decide to pull your legs when you say it, then you're able to also respond to them in that particular order. The other thing I need to mention is you will find information on different platforms about the assignment of marks to the various documents you bring. The reality is that nobody really knows. Well, not that nobody really knows, but it's not available in public domain how PTDF apportions marks at the interview. This is what I mean. When you go there, there will be marks assigned to your to your interview. There will be marks assigned to your membership of professional bodies. There will be marks assigned to your publications if you are going for PhD. There will also be marks assigned to your previous academic records. So if you had a first class, it carries a particular point. I can't tell you that the point is 2 or the point is 5 or the point is 10 or the point is 20. But it carries a particular amount of points that is apportioned to it. If you had a second class upper, there is a point apportioned to that. A first class degree has its own point assigned to it. If you then had like an A1 in maths in your bachelor's, in your on O level, it has some marks assigned to it. If you had a B, it has some marks assigned to it. If you had a C, it has some marks assigned to it. So the points will be higher depending on how high the grades are. A first class has a higher point. A second class upper follows it. A second class lower follows it. An A1 has a point. A B2 has a point. A B3 has its point. And then that is the way it happens. But nobody really knows the exact number of points that are apportioned to this. But if you are going in and then the membership of professional bodies also, they have their points, but I can't tell you that these ones have 2 points, or they have 3 points, or they have 5 points. I think sometime in the past, somebody had said that if you had like 3 publications, that's good enough. So if you have like 5 publications, that the remaining 2 may not count, but carry everything that you have. There have been people who have asked me if they should go with their awards. Yes, please go with your awards. In the recent past, awards have not really contributed to the point system, but you never can tell. If it is not stated, yes, it's not stated, but go with it. You never can tell which panel you meet show them all the things you have, let them make a choice of what they grade and what they do not grade. As I mentioned earlier as well, if you are a member of any professional body and you don't have an ID card, print out your membership profile on the portal and go with it. Go with original copies of your documents. PTDF will require it for sightseeing. They are going to hand it back to you just after sightseeing it, but don't go there without those documents. These things are very important that you go with them. And if you work within this framework to the interview, you're going to come out from that interview feeling better than somebody else who did not watch this live stream with you. Understand the impact, be able to quantify the impact. The way it works is that the bigger the impact you are going to make, the bigger the money that work is going to save Nigeria, then the better. And there are different ways that this impact can happen. It can happen in terms of environmental protection. It can happen in terms of money, bringing in more money. It can happen in terms of building capacity, refining processes, preventing incidents. All of these are various ways in which your work can have an impact on the PTDF goals and the Nigerian economy. In terms of why you should go study abroad, remember that when you are going abroad to study, it is not, the answer should not anywhere be around, I want to go there to fulfill my dreams. I want to go there because my parents cannot afford it. I want to go there because I've always wanted to study in the UK. None of those should be your answer. Your answer should be in terms of quantifiable benefits to the country, not to yourself. Don't think about winning scholarships from the perspective of how it benefits you. Think about the application from the perspective of how it is useful to Nigeria, how it is useful to the economy, how it is useful to the oil and gas industry, how it is going to benefit the goal of the PTDF, which is to improve human capital development for the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. Now, if PTDF wants to improve human capital development for the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, and you are offering to contribute to that human capital development, then you are doing PTDF good. You are showing them why they should sponsor you. That is part of it. And human capital development has a number of benefits. If we had all the people in Nigeria who are capable of doing all the jobs in Nigeria, we may not depend on expatriates. Because when you bring in expatriates, you pay expatriates in foreign currency to a large extent in Nigeria. That is a way of affecting the economy of the country. But if you can quantify it and say, well, I am studying well abandonment in this particular project. At the end of this project, I'm going to set up a place in Nigeria that will focus on developing the low to middle class experts or professionals in well abandonment at the rate of 50 professionals per year. The target is I'm going to run trainings that will produce 50 professionals every year of my training. Now, if I'm producing 50 professionals per year, I am hiring, or maybe, and the industry is absorbing those people. That means that the industry is cutting off what could have probably been 50 expatriates coming in from the UK or from Ghana or from any other part of the world into Nigeria. And how does that affect Nigeria's economy? I'm saving Nigeria this amount of money because the people who will be working in that industry could be people who get paid, say, if you brought them in as expatriate, maybe they charge like $500 per day of work. And this is what you are protecting Nigeria from. 50 people per year means that you are protecting 50 people times $500 per day. So you just need to have these figures. You need to sit down, have the figures in your hands such that you're able to use those figures to defend yourself and to protect yourself when you get to the interview. Remember that the structure of the questions will not follow a specific order. The questions are going to come in, and some people might get there and you're asked to discuss what you want to go and study. Some people will get there and then it goes straight to questions. It depends on how you want to go, depends on how it goes for you. But if you prepare around these three frameworks, nothing is going to stop you and nothing is going to take you off balance during the interview. I don't know if I've missed anything, but I'm going to go through the questions now, and then we can see what questions exist in the comment section, and then we are going to try to answer those questions. YouTube seems very busy. And then I don't know, the guys on Twitter, I see that some of you can hear me. If you can hear me, please just retweet, reshare, follow, connect, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Just ensure that you're able to stay in touch with us other times, because we do a lot of things like this, not just the PTDF scholarship. We do other scholarships as well that are focused on other types of scholarships. We've done one on Commonwealth scholarship. We also do professional networking tutorials that has been useful to many people and has helped many people to get started on certain things. Now, I want to go to the questions section so that we are actually overshooting our time. We wanted to stop this by 11, but because we had challenges when we started, that's why we are still here by this time. I want to answer your questions, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. Comment section will be the best place for me now, and I see people being active on different platforms. So we're going to start this way. Facebook doesn't seem to have helped us today, and because of that, I think we just have Twitter and YouTube to deal with. So YouTube, we'll start with you. If you have a question and you are watching us now on YouTube, please drop that question in the comment section, and then we will be able to learn from your questions. Because we have more people watching on YouTube, I think it will be more profitable to start from there so that the guys on Twitter have more options of questions to learn from, just in case I have missed something. And then the people on Twitter will come back to you afterwards to take your own questions as well. If you are watching us on YouTube, please go ahead with your questions. I'm just trying to get connected to my computer so that I'm able to see your questions more clearly and in real time. Anybody there with any question, please go ahead with your questions. Where is the live chat? Okay. Yeah, just a moment. So if you're on YouTube, you can go ahead with your questions. I know if there are any questions. All right. So if you have asked a question earlier in the stream, I must have missed it because the chat just keeps moving. Now I am starting with someone. I'm not a member of any professional body yet. Can it affect me during the interview? Well, if I'm going to be honest with you, the answer is yes. It can affect you during the interview, but this is what you can do. You have today till the day of your interview to be able to register for one professional body or the other. Just go to SPE website, Society of Petroleum Engineers. Head on to that website, sign up as a member, register as a member, fill all the information there. You may not have a membership ID, but print out the details from the back end of your portal and take it to the interview center. I think you'll be able to get a membership number before you pay your membership fee with SPE. So go there, Society of Petroleum Engineers, get registered. This is not to say that if you don't have membership of professional bodies, you can't win it. What it means is that you will miss the points that will be assigned to membership of professional bodies, which you don't want to miss, because the PTDF is a very competitive scholarship. You want to gather all the points, as many as possible. My advice is find a professional body today and register for it. It's going to help you. Question number 2. Somebody is saying, can you go for the interview even when you are not yet gain admission? Yes. So you don't need admission into a UK school or into a Malaysian school or into any school at all to be able to to go for the interview. In fact, admission letter has no point attached to it in the interview. So if you carry 20 admission letters from 20 universities in the UK and go for PTDF interview, you're not going to get 1 extra point for bringing all those admission letters. It doesn't count. And the reason it doesn't count is because even if you gain admission now, the admission is still going to be conditional offer of admission. But PTDF also knows that if you win the scholarship, getting admission becomes a very simplified process for you. You don't need to bother yourself sitting to apply for admission now. What you need to bother yourself with is preparing for the interview just the way we discussed it. Prepare very well for the interview. And you don't need to go and start reading what's it called again, current affairs like history of Nigeria and all that. The only time you need to study current affairs related something is if your study needs you to tell like a story. So if I wanted to go to the interview and talk about maybe oil pollution in Nigeria, I may want to do a very small study of the history of oil pollution in Nigeria, like oil spillages. I might want to look at what happened in Ogoni, at what point, when did we have like a spillage in a particular river in Bayelsa, all those kind of things. What was like the quantity of the spillage? How did it affect the environment? Those are the kind of things that you may want to prepare for. But in the history of my knowledge, nobody has gone to PTDF and they started asking him to tell them the president of Nigeria in the First Republic or the name of the, what's it called, the Senate president of Nigeria, any of those kind of current affairs related jobs. But yes, you need to master the things you are going there for. The other question also, your impact of your course on oil and gas industry is different from impact of your course on the industry, but you only spoke to the later. Impact of your course on the oil and gas industry is different from the impact of your course on the industry. I don't seem to get that question. I would think you are trying to say that there's a difference between impact on the oil and gas industry and impact on national economy. If that is correct, then you are correct. Now, if you are going for impact can be on the oil and gas industry, and impact can be on national economy. Now, it will be difficult to sit here and tell you the impact of everybody's work on the industry. What I want to tell you or teach us is how to think about it. And once you understand this thought process, it becomes easy for you to apply to your own domain, to your own area, and to your own industry or to your own course. Say, for instance, you have proposed to study. Let me just continue along the conversation I was having. You are discussing something about oil spillage in Nigeria, and you are looking at Ogoni, for instance. The impact of that spillage on, or the impact of your study around spillage prevention can be quantified around different things. It's useful to the industry because the industry wants to keep a reputation of environmental safety, right? It's also useful to the Nigerian economy because the land that gets destroyed by the spillage of oil becomes unavailable to agriculture. And if the land size is large enough, then we can be having a situation where we have to run on imports, or we're having to go on food insecurity because of that spillage. If the spillage had made its way to the offshore environment, we are damaging offshore life, right? And any of these things that gets affected, it now depends on you to define the complications and the implications it brings on the economy in terms of food, in terms of foreign exchange, in terms of employment. All of these are areas that affect the economy of the country. If the work you are going to do has a way of employing local, or has a way of raising people who get employable to the industry, you're also affecting the people, or you're also affecting the economy of the country by achieving that. Now, the other way you look at it is if your study is going to improve our production per day, the number of barrels that the country is producing per day, that's to say you are reducing downtime, you are shorting off, maybe reducing the number of days that we are not producing in a year, or you are reducing the number of oil that gets missing. Say, for instance, you are studying something on pipeline integrity or pipeline security, and you're cutting off bunkering or oil thefts in the industry. So you are improving the number of volume, the volume that the country is exporting per day. You are also doing something that affects the economy, because the more quantity, the more volume we're able to export, the more money we're making as a country. So that has direct impact on the economy of the country. Now, for the oil and gas industry, it also improves profitability for them. And it reduces, if you're optimizing the process that they are using today to enhance production, then you are developing technologies that can help the industry one way or the other. These are the things that you want to achieve. These are the things you want to achieve And then by doing that, these are the things you want to achieve. And by doing all of this, you are showing how your work has impact. The difference between those of you who are attending this event and the people who will not view this video is in your ability to quantify that impact. That's why I mentioned, if your impact is very small and somebody else comes with a bigger impact, that person is going to win over you. Say, for instance, you are saying that you are going to study how to protect pipelines. Let's say, for instance, you are doing something that is pipeline protection. And you go there, you are saying, oh, I'm going to do pipeline integrity. But your pipeline integrity solution, you can't quantify whether this is going to help like 20 kilometers of pipeline, or whether this is going to help 1 kilometer of pipeline, or whether this technology is going to require us to invest 2 billion before we can get results from it, or whether the technology requires an investment of only $1,000. All right. These quantities or these things are the things that shows how well you have studied your work. If you have studied that work very well, you should have an idea of the initial investment, right? For instance, I am studying well abandonment. In my case, the country doesn't necessarily need to invest money in me again to be able to have impact in the area of well abandonment, because I can decide to run webinars, I can decide to run sessions that train people from zero knowledge of well abandonment to at least understanding the requirements and the things that are involved, raising like roughneck capacity for well abandonment professionals. Once I'm able to achieve that, then I have done something good. So that's number one. And that is the way you want to think about it. People are going to walk you through a number of things. They're going to verify your documents. Just a moment. So that's the way these things work. If you're able to prove it, then you can quantify that volume, quantify that impact in terms of it is going to help us to eliminate 20 tons of oil, or going to help us prevent oil spillage from the offshore environment. Now, what becomes the effect of having a spillage on the offshore environment? What are the complications it brings? Reputation to the companies, harm to what's it called again? Marine life, a lot of things that it can complicate. You need to think about it by yourself. If you are looking at renewable energy, for instance, this is something I needed to talk about. So I'm going to pause with the questions and just address it. So the PTDF also funds renewable energy studies. But if you are going there, you are not going there to tell them about how renewable energy is going to stop the use of oil and gas, right? You are going to look at how renewables can compensate or coexist with oil and gas, or how renewables can even be applied to oil and gas, because offshore platforms could be powered with could be powered with renewables. There are countries where they are already doing it, replacing generators on platforms with, say, wind energy or hydrogen or maybe solar, something like that. So you are not going there to tell them that, oh, you are going to study renewable because you want to use your renewable to replace oil and gas. PTDF is primary, it has petroleum in its name, so you want to respect that petroleum when you go in there. But also remember that PTDF is open to the energy industry as a whole. That's why even people who study medicine sometimes get invited, because if your study can be made relevant to the industry, then you are good to go. Let's look at the other question. Somebody said, can someone go with his local government certificate that has... I don't know what local government that is, but the much I know, local government identification letters do not expire. They are more like, they are for a lifetime. They are not like international passports that have expiry dates. If any local, well, I can say this for my own local government, it doesn't expire. If yours expires, it's best to get the recent one. But if you can't get a recent one, go with the expired one. That's the way I'll put it. I don't know that local government identification expires for any reason. But even if it has expired, so long as you are identified as coming from that local government in the old one, please go with it. I don't know that expires. If yours has expired and you can't get a new one, go with it. Let's look at the other one. I don't have any professional body member certificate, but I have a receipt which indicates that I have paid for the certificate. Will the interview ask? Well, go with the receipt. But if this professional body has an online portal, log into that online portal, print out your membership profile from the portal, and then add it to the receipt that you are going with. That should be a perfect combination. When I went, I didn't have my membership ID for NAPI. In fact, I've not even got that membership ID till now, because I think I needed to go to somewhere in Ikoyi at the time to get the membership card. I had not gone there, but I had something on my profile that showed that I was a member. So I just printed that out and it was accepted. This will depend on the place you are going to. That's why you also need to pray, of course, when you go in there. Then somebody is saying, is student membership okay? No. The much I know, student membership is not acceptable to PTDF. And there's a very clear reason for that. You are not going for the PTDF interview as a student. Mainly, you are going there as somebody who has finished NYSC. And because you have finished NYSC, it means that at least you are somewhere more than 1 year post-graduation. Within that 1 year of post-graduation, you are expected to have switched your membership from student member to graduate member. There is also the other case where maybe you are doing a master's and then went back to SP as a student member, but you can get graduate memberships very easily, and that's what I would recommend. That's what PTDF recommends, and that's what you should go with. There's another question. All of these are on YouTube. Are we also printing out our SOP and interview details and venue before the interview? Please print out everything in hard copy. You will typically need to give them, I don't know if they have changed this now, but in my time, you would present like a copy of your SOP or research proposal to the interview panel. They will be looking at it while asking you questions. So I think it's good practice to print it. I believe that they must have improved to a point where they can have digital access to it from their own side. But regardless, please print those things when you are going. And then remember to go with the copy of your certificate. Then someone said, if I am asked why Robert Gordon University, how do you approach this question? They may not necessarily go as detailed as asking you why a particular university. They may ask you why a particular country. But if you are coming to Robert Gordon, it makes it a lot easier. Aberdeen is the center of, it's called the oil and gas capital of Europe. And the reason it's called oil and gas capital of Europe is because of the history of this city with oil and gas. Aberdeen is where I am, actually. Robert Gordon is my own university. But if you have so many points. You have technology development, you have advanced training materials, you have easy access to the industry for learning purposes. But remember, like I mentioned, every reason you give, tag that reason back to how it helps Nigeria. So if I said something like, I'm going to Robert Gordon because I know that Aberdeen is the oil and gas capital of Europe, and then don't go and repeat this verbatim, because there are at least 37 people watching me now on YouTube. Every one of you should not repeat the same answer. If I said, well, Aberdeen is the oil and gas capital of Europe with a rich history of development of technologies that have been used for oil and gas, with companies from Aberdeen providing services to different companies in Nigeria. I'm going there because I want to be able to have access to these companies, to learn how they develop technologies, to master how they nurture technologies from development to deployment. And because these companies are located in Aberdeen, I believe that I'll be able to secure like an internship with them, which gives me exposure to their processes. And this will also help me. And the knowledge I gain from these things can be easily transferred to Nigeria after my studies, because I am hoping to see that at the end of my studies, I'm able to develop something in Nigeria or build relationships or partnerships between these companies in Aberdeen with local companies in Nigeria. such that they are able to form a liaison between them, such that they are able to offer their services to companies in Nigeria. Because we have this need, we have this need, we have the other need, and I've identified this company in Aberdeen that can provide those solutions. Something like that. You see, the answer has gone from what I know about Aberdeen, what I know about Robert Gordon, to what I know about the industry and how they can help Nigeria. I'm not going to give you specific word for word answer. I'm just trying to give you a framework around which you should think. Because if I give you a word for word answer, then 30 people will go and repeat the same answer, and then it becomes like copy paste. They'll start suspecting that I use ChatGPT to do it. All right, so this is the way I would answer that question, and this counts for every other school. I'm talking about professional bodies. Mine is TRCN, class education, or must it be? No, it must not be petroleum related. It's just a professional body, any recognized professional body. TRCN is good enough. Go with it. If you can get anyone that is petroleum related, go with it as well. But you know that I don't know what you are proposing to study. It might be something that has relevance to cuts between education and oil and gas, or human capital development and oil and gas. But know how to use your professional body memberships to your advantage. If you are somebody that has TRCN, that's Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, then you need to be able to also highlight that your background as a teacher, a qualified teacher, will be used to then take the benefits of the learnings from your study to this area to build capacity to teach, to those kind of things. That makes it relevant. It links the two together. You can build an oil and gas capacity building center. In fact, where I used to work in Lagos, we had one of those kind of things. I have watched videos where people mention that PTDF usually asks candidates invited for the interview to update their SOP before the interview, but they didn't mention that this year. Well, if they didn't mention it this year, then it means they have just taken that out. In my time, there was opportunity to update that, and that was what gave people room to like modify their areas of interest or to improve the work. But if they are not giving that, then go with what you have. But if what you have is now slightly different from what you want to do, think about the way you link that in the conversation. Then something like the proposal was to work on this and that, but the study is also going to expand to this or this or this or that. Like, think about it. But the key thing is this: most important part of the thing is to win the scholarship. After you've won the scholarship, PTDF is flexible enough to allow you to change your course. All right. So in my case, I had this friend who had applied for oil and gas engineering, and she won the scholarship. She wanted to study well engineering. She won the scholarship. She ended up studying data science. But you need to also write PTDF and write a reason for which you are switching. These are things that you can easily sort out at the end. Don't bother yourself so much about it. Go with what you have. Prepare around the thing that you have. Do you, by any chance, know if Imperial College has been excluded from PTDF partner institutions? I don't think so. What I know is that, and I promised to talk about this. Thank you for this question. So, at the moment, most of the PTDF partner universities remain intact at the master's degree level. But for PhDs in the UK, there are only 3 universities. If you are coming to UK for PhD, please pay good attention to what I'm going to say now. It has long-term implications. Pay very good attention. Now, if you are coming to the UK as a PTDF scholar for PhD at the moment, there are only 3 schools that you can go to. Only 3 schools. 2 of those schools are in Scotland, and one of the schools is in England, I think. So there is Portsmouth, University of Portsmouth. There is University of Strathclyde, And then there is Robert Gordon University. These are the only 3 schools at the moment where you can go to for your PhD as a PTDF scholar. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. The PTDF scholarship at PhD level in the UK now is run as a split site program. You must have seen this in your interview, but I want to explain the implications of that to you. That means that you are going to spend some part of your time studying in the UK, and you spend the other time studying in Nigeria, in Kaduna State. There's a PTDF institution that is built there, a research institution built in Kaduna State by PTDF, where you will spend some of your time. This arrangement started last year. For those who came like in my time and other years, we were able to stay in the UK for the whole period of the study. But I think because of the cost, PTDF came up with this idea of doing a split program. And as at last year, nobody really knew the details of how it was going to work. But these are the things we now know about the PTDF split program. First is you're going to run 1 year of your study in the UK, and the other 2 years will be run in Nigeria. And at the moment, the year during which you are abroad in the UK is the only year you get paid at the international stipend rate, at the UK stipend rate by PTDF. There are discussions around it by the students trying to explain why that shouldn't be the case and all that. But at the moment, what happens is that the year when you are abroad is the year you are paid as an abroad scholar. The years when you are in Nigeria, you are paid as a Nigerian scholar in Nigeria. There is a big difference between that. Again, there is also a big difference between the cost of living in the UK and living in Kaduna State, which is understandable. But you need to know this. Now, the 3 schools have different arrangements. 2 of the other schools, Strathclyde and Portsmouth, will let you do your first years of the study in Nigeria. This is pay very close attention to what I'm saying. Then Robert Gordon will make you come to Aberdeen to do the first year of your study in the UK. This is because PhD in Robert Gordon is run through a particular process. They may modify it. All right, they may modify it, and if I get to know about any modifications, I will still let us know. But at the moment, you are coming to Aberdeen to do your first year. The implications of this are that at the end of your first year, you have to come back to Nigeria and then go to Kaduna State for the remaining 2 years of your PhD. And because you are in Nigeria, finishing your PhD in Nigeria, the likely thing is that you will run your defense in Nigeria. And it now goes on to have some kind of implications on the visas that might be open for you if you wanted to stay back in the UK after your studies, or if you wanted to come back to the UK after your studies. However, I don't want to go into the details of that, but I'm going to mention that regardless of where you finish, whether it's in the UK or it's in Nigeria, you will still be able to apply for what is called Global Talent Visa to move to the UK and then live your life in the UK if you wanted to live your life in the UK, depending again on the nature of the bond that you sign with PTDF this year. If the bond is now modified that whoever finishes under them must stay in Nigeria, then that becomes the case and there's nothing you can do about it. But at the moment, remember that there are two ways you come. You can come in, first of all, to do your 1 year in the UK and come back to Nigeria for the remaining 2 years, or come to the UK and then after you've done 2 years in Nigeria. I will leave you to make your choice, but I know what my choice would be if I was in your shoes. But make your choice. Portsmouth and Strathclyde, you're going to stay in Nigeria for the first segment, then come to the UK for the final segment. Robert Gordon University, you are coming to the UK for the first segment and then returning to Nigeria to finish up. That's the much I'm going to say now, because I don't want you to follow just what I say. I want you to make your own decisions. Then the other question, my name has not been spelled correctly on the interview invitation email. How do I go about correcting this, please? I don't think you have a way of correcting it directly by yourself. What you're going to do is when you get to the interview, highlight this mistake to them. There should usually be somebody from the IT department of PTDF in every interview location. So they will get that IT person. This is my thoughts. They will get that IT person to be able to access the back end of their portal to make the necessary corrections. Of course, you will need to prove that you are really the person and it's not a case of identity theft. You are going to prove that it's a mistake and it's not that you are impersonating somebody. Then the next question, must the professional membership be oil and gas? I have answered no to this question. It can be any other professional body membership, including is it TCRN or TRCN for teachers. How many minutes is the interview? This would vary. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, but I think the upper limit is 15 minutes for PhD applicants. Is it possible to go with membership for other country relevant to the course of study? Anything that is a membership of professional bodies, whether it is American Society of whatever or International Society of this, Canadian whatever international association, just go with it. Professional body is professional body. Go with everything you have. Is for them to now say we're accepting this or we're not accepting this, but there's no reason for which they should not accept memberships of professional bodies from other countries. In fact, that should even be a plus, if I'm to say. If you get the scholarship, can you defer to another year? Yes. And can you change your course or school? You can change your course, you can change your school at a master's level, but with some limitations. If you are going for the PhD, I understand that the flexibility of changing your school at the PhD in the UK is no longer there. If you choose University of Strathclyde, you are going to Strathclyde, PhD in the UK. But you can change your research topic. Research topics can be modified depending on a number of things, facilities, availability of supervisors, and all that. This is even the other reason why you can, getting an admission is not compulsory before the interview, because your admission could be something relatively different from what you already have at the point of the interview, or what you even wanted to study at the point of the interview. So you can make modifications. But for PhDs coming to the UK, that modification, I understand, is not really available anymore. However, if you have chosen to come to the UK, the UK is a block of countries on its own. That's the way I like to explain it. So you cannot change your country of choice from UK to Germany, or from UK to France, or UK to Malaysia. You cannot do that. But somehow, sometimes PTDF lets you to modify your places, to choose maybe to go to France instead of Malaysia, which you probably had chosen before, or to go to Germany instead of France, which you had chosen before. They are flexible around those three countries, but not flexible to move from those three countries to the UK, or from the UK back to any of those three countries. This is the much I can say about it now. And somebody says, can you please restate the three frameworks you talked about? So, okay, I'll do that. Is it during the interview that our SOP will be reviewed for the first time, or was it reviewed before shortlisting? I don't know the answer to this last question. Like I said, I don't work with PTDF, and somebody is saying they can't hear me on Facebook. That's sad. So I don't know. I don't work for PTDF. I don't know at what point they review your SOP, but my instinct will tell me that somehow, some way, they must have had a short review of your SOP before the interview date. I think they would have looked at your SOP at the point of maybe with an automated system. Maybe with an automated system at the shortlisting period. But this time, you're going to have human beings actually looking at it. Don't quote me on this, but that's what I think. That's what I think. Then, okay, that's what I think. Now, somebody said I should restate the three frameworks I talked about. The three frameworks I talked about is: one, master your SOP. Know what you are going to study. Master your research proposal. Know it to a very great detail. Understand what you are going to study. Understand why you are going to study what you are going to study. If you have written a line on that work, know the implications of that line of statement that you wrote. Understand it to that level of detail where if I wake you up and say, what are you going to study? Can you discuss this topic, the technical aspect of this work? You are able to discuss it. If you are going to study mechanical engineering, operation-based maintenance, don't go there and they ask you what is operation-based maintenance and you don't know. Don't go there and they ask you what are the models used for operation-based maintenance and you can't mention anyone. If you are saying that you're going to do research, don't go there and they ask you what is the methodology for your research and you don't know anything about it. Or they ask you the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research and you don't know. Or they ask you if your research is going to be a combination of the two and you don't know. These are things that you must have defined clearly. Or they ask you what equipment, maybe you said you're going to do a study on pressure. And then somebody is asking you, what kind of equipment are you going to use to do this measurement? And what you are saying, oh, you don't know any equipment that is used for measuring pressure. That's going to be like, you don't have knowledge of what you are saying. So you need to understand, what am I studying? What are the things that will help me achieve this study in terms of equipment, in terms of processes, in terms of methodology? Master what you are going to study. If somebody is going to study chemical engineering, you should not have a struggle with understanding the chemistry behind the materials you're going to study. For instance, if I'm going to study a particular material, I said, I'm going to study this. Let's just say I'm going to study, I mentioned that I'm going to use, let's say, which type of material now I'm going to mention. So let me just say I said I'm going to study polyethylene. And or I'm going to do a study that uses polyethylene for oil and gas application. And somebody is asking me what class of plastics is polyethylene. I don't know whether it is thermoplastics. I don't know whether it's thermosets. I'm just lost. I need to be able to have those understanding. Or I say I'm going to do nano materials. And somebody is asking me what is the size, the average size of a nano material. I should be able to say what scale of things is nano and what kind of materials equipment can be used for studying nanomaterials because of their nature, the challenges associated with nanomaterials, the health challenges, because as much as they are beneficial, they can also be hazardous because they are very tiny. They can get into your body very easily and compromise your health. So I need to know all of those. That's me mastering my work. Now, after that, think about how does this align with the goals of the PTDF. The goals of the PTDF. PTDF has a mission that is stated on their website. Master that mission. And then master what PTDF really stands for itself. Because the questions can come technical, which is your knowledge of your work. The questions can come from around the PTDF, like what is PTDF, what does it stand for, what are they set out to do, and all that kind of thing. And then master also the benefit of your work to the oil and gas industry and to Nigeria's economy. It could be to the oil and gas industry, it could be to Nigeria's economy, it could be both. You should be able to define these things very clearly. All the questions that you will be asked will revolve around wanting an answer from you that addresses one of these areas. If the question is, why should we give you this scholarship? It's talking about impact because they've seen your academic record. So that's not what they're asking for. They are all now asking about the impact of your work without telling you that it's impact they are asking for. If the question is, how will your study be useful to, or how does your study align with the PTDF's goals, then it is now drawing on your understanding of what the PTDF goals really are. again, like I mentioned, the interview questions come different for different people. But when you have a balanced preparation, then you are not worried about how it comes for you. It can come anywhere and you'll be able to answer it. Then, if you are asked, for instance, why this scholarship should be given to you to go and study abroad, then it also draws on you understanding the technicalities or the technical part of your work, and then you understanding two things, the other two components. If I finish this study abroad, how is it going to help Nigeria? Because I said, always think about the benefit to the country and to the industry instead of the benefit to you. The scholarship is not designed to help you fulfill your childhood dreams, even though you are going to fulfill it in the course of the scholarship. Myself, when I was small, I used to think about going to study either in the UK or in Japan. And somehow I'm studying in the UK, right? So I could say that's childhood dream fulfilled. But I cannot go to the interview and tell them that I'm going there to fulfill my childhood dream. No, they did not send me here for that. When I went for the interview, there was a particular, very much on that, very much unreported in the media in Nigeria. There was a blowout in Nigeria around that time. In fact, that well had been burning for like 1 year around the time of my interview. It was somewhere offshore, continental shelf around Ondo State. If you are very familiar with oil and gas, you know about this thing I'm saying. Now, I knew something about it because somehow I had also worked on that project, not with the team that were working there when the blowout happened. We were planning, designing the recovery of that well at the time. I won't go into details more than that, but I understood that situation very well. And when they started asking about the reason why I think they should give me the scholarship, that response came very easily because I knew about it. I knew it was a problem, and I knew that the cause of that problem, I knew the cause of the problem. So I could very easily say that this is what the study is going to do. This is the problem it's going to solve in the industry. And of course, these are the implications of the industry. And then good enough, I was interviewing in Ibadan, which is not far from Ondo State. So I could very much easily say, the people in Ibadan could very easily relate to what I'm talking about. It's just right there in Ondo State. So this is how it's affecting the industry. This is how it's making us lose some things. And if I'm able to fix it through this study, then this is what it's going to offer. You understand? So it is not about me. It is about what my study brings to the country, the benefits it brings to the country. That's the way you think about it. If this is very clear now, just comment Academy of Scholarships and Transitions, and that will be fine. Is the local government identification letter a LEO of state of origin? Can I use it anyway? Yes, I don't think the much I know in Nigeria, there's nothing like a state of origin letter or a state of origin certificate. It doesn't exist. So that local government is what proves that you are from the state. That's what you go with. If they have introduced it to, because I've been out of Nigeria for a while, even though I was in Nigeria last August, but I didn't look at whether there's been changes to state of origin certificate, but I don't think it exists anywhere in Nigeria. Then if you are already running a master's degree and you applied for the PTDF, is it necessary to mention that in your interview? So it depends. First of all, if you are running a master's degree already and you are applying for another master's, then you might want to think about why are you leaving the current master's for a new master's? You need to be able to provide an answer for that. But if you already had a master's and you are going for a second master's, you don't need to mention it. You don't even need to take that master's certificate to the place because it raises questions, except if you have a clear answer. Maybe your previous master's was in microbiology, for instance, and you want to run a second master's under PTDF in how to use microbes to carry out cleaning up of oil and gas spillages. You see, those are two different, they are from the same background, but two different things. The other one, you were studying microbes as it relates to human health. This time you are studying microbes as it relates to an application for oil and gas, how to use it to clean up oil spillages. That is one way you can go about it. But if you had studied oil and gas in your previous education, master's level, you are going to study another aspect of oil and gas in your master's degree again, you may not necessarily want to talk about that because you already have a master's. They would expect you to start applying for a PhD. So you want to blind that part and then just do your interview as though you are going for a first-time master's. This is not to say that you should tell a lie. They are not going to, they may not, usually I don't think they will ask you if you have done a master's before, but you protect that by not showing them that. That's just the way I would say it. Now, if you are enrolled for a master's abroad already, and you are going for the PTDF scholarship, or you're already enrolled for a PhD abroad and you are going for the scholarship, the way it comes is they would usually ask you if you are applying for a full scholarship or a partial scholarship. The much I know, there is no discrimination between those who are going for full scholarship and those who are going for partial scholarship. Partial scholarships are for people who have either started their study or people who already have like another scholarship that covers their tuition. So what they are looking for is just the stipend to be able to sustain their stay. They don't need their tuition paid because somebody or some school somewhere has already taken care of that. These are the people that go for the partial scholarship, or you've done 1 year or 1 semester or 2 years of your study. You just need money to be able to sustain yourself or complete your tuition for the remaining period. Those are partial scholarships. And if that is what you are asking for, then that is the case. I'll take this last question from the YouTube group and then look at the Twitter space to be able to answer questions there. Hello, I got the invite for the interview. My SOP, I highlighted environmental science, and the university I applied to doesn't have it. So I applied for geoscience. Is that an issue? Well, not really an issue. You can change your university after winning the scholarship. It's you basically you end up going to the university from which you get admission into your course. In my time, I think my first choice university was University of Aberdeen. My second choice university was, I think, RGU. I can't remember the third one, whether it was Imperial or London South Bank. I can't remember the school. But eventually, I'm in Robert Gordon University. And even though I had admission into the two schools, I decided which school I go to. Because in the end, you will need to provide an admission letter to PTDF after you win the scholarship before they issue you an award letter that you now use to get cash from the school, like as proof of funds to the school. And then you do all of that, you get that to PTDF, and then they work on the basis of that school. The only thing is the school must be a partner university with PTDF. That's it. Do I need to apply to any school because I didn't? You don't need to apply to any school before winning the scholarship. You can go to the scholarship interview without prior application to any school. That is it on YouTube. And then I head on to Twitter now to look at the questions from the Twitter space. Twitter people, I be people on X. Anyone? Any questions? Drop them in the comments section. Somebody said my sound is echoing. Okay, well, this was like 2 hours ago, so I think we must have overcome that. YouTube sound is currently down. What points? This was 1 hour ago. I can hear you on YouTube. Twitter audio is okay. All right. Yes, I can hear you. Audio is good. Yes, we can hear you. All right. I don't seem to see any question from Twitter. If there are no questions, then we will be bringing this to an end. Stay tuned. I don't know if we should set up a WhatsApp group for this, but stay tuned with Academy of Scholarships and Transitions on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Of course, YouTube would always require me to do a video. I do write sometimes on Twitter and then on Facebook. Most of my written posts are there. I'll be bringing updates along the line because of the way the event happened today, the challenges we had at the onset. We may have missed out one or two things, but as soon as any of those come to mind, I will either write a post about it or create a video about it. But please feel free to share our videos with your friends. The next live stream that I would do on YouTube would likely not be on this particular channel. It will be on the channel I shared on Facebook earlier today, Hewari's Podcast. I don't know if I can send that in the comment section of this. Let me see if I can just send that to the comment section of this. So you want to also connect with me there. I'm going to be featuring a lot on that podcast with time, doing like some interviews and all that. I think the next live stream I plan to do should be on professional networking. And if you are coming to the UK, this is going to be very, 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 very helpful to you because the UK is a country that is built on networks. So if you are coming to the UK, you want to plan to get yourself a good understanding of professional networking. And that should be the next podcast or the next, what's it called? The next live stream that I would do. So I'm dropping the link to that channel in the comment section of this video. I want you to go and subscribe to the channel. All right, just head on to the channel and then subscribe. The link is coming on the YouTube link, YouTube chat now. I just dropped it there. Head on to it. Just click on it and subscribe, and this will be fine. Once you have done that, just comment done and I will be ending the live stream shortly. Any other question? We can take just one more question, but if you cannot take another question, instead of let's just go to that channel now and put subscriptions there. Just subscription is free. It just means that you sign up to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. The channel needs to get to 50 subscribers before we're able to hold live streams on it. And for some reasons, I'm thinking to hold that live stream on professional networking on that channel. It's for a very special reason, which is not necessarily important to discuss now. Somebody says the breakdowns were helpful. Thank you so much for that mention. Please head on to this channel and subscribe to the channel. We are 29 people just now watching. I can see from the channel if we are cooperating. One person has just subscribed. Please, if you have not subscribed, head on to the channel and put the subscription right there. Just click on that link and then subscribe. The live session for the PTDF is done. I'll be making subsequent videos and subsequent posts about it, but please go to this link that I dropped now and hit the subscribe button on the channel. 2 more people have subscribed. Thank you so much for that. I'm still waiting for the rest of us. We are 26 watching the live stream now. Please go to the Hewari's Podcast and subscribe. Someone is saying, God bless you. Thank you so much, and God bless you too. Usually, I like to end my live streams by telling us that, we do our part as human beings, but eventually you have to pray a lot because what you are going into is a very competitive process. Pray that God helps you. Pray that God sees you through. Pray that God gives you favor before the interviewers, because the way the interview goes can determine whether or not you win the scholarship. The attitude of the interview panel means a lot. It matters a lot. And I am praying for all of you that you will win the scholarship. One other person has just subscribed. Please, if you have not subscribed and you are watching me, I'm dropping the link again. Just head on to this particular place and subscribe. It is I'm going to be doing a lot of things on the channel. You may not see my face there now, but I'm telling you ahead of time that subsequently you're going to start seeing my videos there, where I teach professional networking in my next live stream. If you have been following me on Facebook, you know that is a pinned post. This podcast is mainly about business, how to run businesses, how to run business and finance, how to run businesses, how to manage your finances, how to draw up budgets and all that. That's what we do on that particular channel. So please, guys, go to that channel. The link, I'm just posting it in the comment section. Click on it, head on to the channel, and then subscribe. If you have not done so, please do it. We're not going to, say one guy says that he doesn't hype nonsense. There are two other people who have just subscribed. Please, the rest of us, let's go and just do that. The guys on Twitter, I think I can also post that link there. I'm not sure. Yes, so if you're on Twitter and watching me, looks like my internet is down on Twitter. What's going on? I don't know. Yeah, but please just head on there and subscribe. Please head on to the channel and subscribe. All right, please head on to the channel. No. Please head on to the channel and subscribe. All right, the channel is there. Anybody who has been able to get to the channel, just hit the subscribe button. That's just all you want to do there now. You can go back there later to look for videos on budgeting, videos on business and all that. Those are the nature of the content that will be running on that particular channel. This is Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. And then if you have not done so, please just click on it. It's just a click. All right, somebody has done that. Thank you so much. God bless you. Any other person who is willing to do that, is not like you must, but if you are interested in learning anything about finance, you're interested in learning anything about managing money, interested in building professional networks, that's the channel where you will get more of these contents or content around that area. So you do, money can come in, but what makes the difference between the rich and the poor and the middle class is what they do with money, how they see the money they make. Some see money as something to consume, others see money as something to use to oppress their neighbors. Some others see money as something that has to multiply itself. It makes a difference. And the differences these things make are the things that you'll be learning on the Hewari. So please head on to that channel. The link is in the comment section of the place you are now, and just click subscribe. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't cost you money. It doesn't cost you anything. Just head on to that comment section and click on the subscription button. All right. Have you done that? If you've done that, just say done, and that will be me for today. Thank you so much, Daniel, and God bless every one of you that came today, and may God grant you success in the interview. Stay in touch and try to share things amongst yourself. All of you who are here today, you can try to trace yourselves, and I give you the opportunity. You can put your LinkedIn profile in the comment section so that you can connect with yourselves. All right, you can copy your LinkedIn profile, put it in the comment section of this post, of this video, this live stream, so that you all can connect with yourselves and then be able to share intelligence or knowledge based on who goes first. Feel free to share your experience with the ones who did not, who will be going later. Those who are going first, best wishes to you. The people who are going later, best wishes to you. One more person has just subscribed. We can get more people to subscribe. If you have not done so, just please head on to the link in the comment section. Somebody else has done that. Afolabi Victor. Victor. Is that the Afolabi Victor that I know? Or another one? Okay, I don't know if you are the one, but Victor, if you have a sister that studied in Russia some years ago, find a way to send me a message on LinkedIn. Chukwuemeka Augustine is my name. If you have a sister that studied some years ago in Russia, I won't go into more details than that, but send me a message on LinkedIn. I would like to connect better with you if you are the person. Okay, you are saying I don't think so. All right, if you are not the one, then well, you can also connect on LinkedIn, but there was a particular Afolabi Victor that I was thinking of from Kwara State. Who are you, brother? Who is asking who I am? Where are you from? You are connected to Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. If you would want to know me, then go to sign up or go to subscribe to this channel that I'm going to drop now. I will run another live stream there sometime in the future, and I will be making a proper introduction of myself there. All right. I've just dropped it now. You can go there and then subscribe. Subscription is free of charge, and that's all you just need to do. We are all right. Please just go there and subscribe now. 20 of us are still watching, and I want to see 20 of us subscribe to the Helwaris. Which country are you from? I'm from Nigeria, and I'm streaming from the UK. So I'm from Nigeria, and I'm streaming from the UK. Which country are you from? The person who is asking, where are you from yourself? Are you from the US? Which country? I am from India. Okay, from India. Pleased to meet you. You're welcome. So this particular live stream today was just for, it's a scholarship that is particularly for Nigerians, but there are other live streams, recorded live streams on the platform that are for everybody, including people from India, people from different countries of the world. But this particular live stream is for people from Nigeria. Subscribe to the channel and then watch there's a video there that's our featured video. Watch that video. It teaches you everything you need to know about scholarships. It will teach you the type of scholarships that are available, the strategies for winning them, when those scholarships open, where to find those scholarships. That's our featured video on Academy of Scholarships and Transition. But for now, if you have not subscribed to the link I just posted, please just go there and subscribe. That's all you can do. And then you can trust that you're going to learn something from that channel. Like I mentioned, my next live stream, depending on a few factors, will be on that channel. That's my plan. But the channel needs to get to 50 subscribers before I'm able to run live streams there. That's the point. So we are 17 now. There are still 22 of us watching, and 22 of us can take that number close to 50. We'll get the remaining subscribers before the next live stream. Please, I have 3 questions on PTDF. Okay, if you have questions, you can go ahead with your question. I'm done with the live stream actually, but if you have questions, you can still go ahead with the questions while I'm waiting for people to go and subscribe to the Hewaris. Hewaris podcast is you will learn a lot of things from there. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you go there, you will see discussions around budgeting. You will see discussions about money. No go just make money, throw away your money. There is money making, and there is your. I can get it from here now, but so you can just subscribe to that, and then we will be where we ought to be. All right. So the question about PTDF, can you go ahead with the questions? Just drop them. Let's discuss it. Number 1, are we to go with our JAMB results? No, you don't need JAMB result. What you need is your O-level result, WAEC or NECO. Question number 2. I'm just answering this question and waiting for people to subscribe to the Hewaris podcast. I'm done with the live stream, but somehow, because we are waiting, then we have the opportunity to answer these questions. What is the next question, Mustafa? Must all my answers given during the interview align with my SOP? Well, the SOP, your SOP is the baseline for the interview as a master's student, and your research proposal is the baseline for the interview as a PhD student. But there will be questions that could be asked that are not from the SOP. However, the technical questions will be from the SOP. You remember I mentioned that the questions are in 3 categories. One is the questions that probe your technical knowledge of what you are proposing to study, and two are questions that probe your knowledge of what the PTDF is doing. And then the third one are questions that probe your understanding of the impact of your course or your study on the economy of Nigeria and the oil and gas industry in general. So those questions, those other two questions may not be clearly addressed in your SOP depending on how you wrote your SOP. But if you followed my videos during the application phase, your SOP would have likely addressed those questions as well. And then in that case, all the questions will likely have answers that you can think about from your SOP. How, that's question number 3 from Mustafa. How should I do my introduction? It depends actually on how the questions come. There was something that happened the day I went for this interview. Very funny story. So I was doing the interview at Ibadan, and when I was called to enter, there was this young man. I think he was student union faculty president or departmental president, something like that. He came to the place. I think he was doing clearance, so he came in shorts. He was wearing short knicker when he came, and he was entering the venue of the interview while the person was coming to, I think, to call me to enter. The secretary was coming to call me to enter. So the secretary was like, "Are you the one?" She was referring to the guy as though he was the person who had come for the interview, and then he was wearing shorts. So it then turned out, I then said, no, the guy was trying to deny that he was not coming for the interview. I said, well, that if he had come for the interview, maybe I would borrow him my own dress to attend, to participate. Then the secretary started laughing, and then I was laughing. People were laughing as I walked into the place. Now, when I got in there, that mood was, everybody felt like a little bit of, there was a light mood in the environment. This was not planned. It was not premeditated. It was not thought about. And I'm not saying you should go there and become a comedian. That's not what I'm trying to say. But the point is, the way you introduce yourself depends on the circumstances around you and how the questions come. Then, second was when they were verifying my academic records, I studied my bachelor's and master's in Russia. So there was this man who had studied in Russia many years ago who was part of my interview panel. I think what he did was he looked at the materials and then spoke Russian to me. And when he spoke Russian, I had to respond. And then, another level of, oh, this person knows this language. And then I think they now asked me to say one particular thing in Russian language. And when I was leaving, the secretary also asked me to say something. I think she tried to greet me in Russian or something. But the point is this: if you are asked about yourself, they would normally not even ask you to introduce yourself as a question. They may ask you something around, tell us about what, so this is your SOP, tell us about what you are going to study, or let's get into it. Why did you say you are going to study this course? You are a mechanical engineer and you are proposing to go to study this. Why do you think this is going to be relevant to the industry in Nigeria? The questions can come differently, but prepare from this 3 framework that we've discussed today. Introducing yourself, if they ask you, should be your strongest time of the conversation. Let them know who you are. If at all they ask you, let them know why you qualify for the scholarship. Let them know what the scholarship, how the lessons from the scholarship or the knowledge from the scholarship will help the industry in Nigeria. Somebody says, if I'm being asked about myself, that's, can I meet you? Do I need to talk about my offices like post, health, well-being, and all that? So everything that is going to make you stand out is what you're going to say. This question is from Victor. Everything that makes you stand out is what you are going to say. If they said, if I go into a place and you ask me to introduce myself, I think about the place and I think about what aspect of me you need to know that is going to help me get what I want from you. Recently, I was in a technical meeting, and then somebody was asking, we were talking, we were all seated. I think, yeah, we were eating at the time. The meeting had finished, we were all sitting and eating. And there was this lady, I didn't know her. She's a recruiter for one of the major recruiting companies for oil and gas companies in the UK. The company is called Kamak. And then they started discussing. So along the line, she was discussing with somebody else who was sitting to my left, or the other two men who were sitting to my left. And in the process, I could figure out that this person works for a recruitment company. And at a point, she was like, so who am I? Because we all had badges, she could see from my badge that I was a student of Robert Gordon University. And you know what that looks like. She is a recruiter. She's usually talking to experienced professionals. I needed to find a way to make her understand that I am a student doesn't mean I have not worked in the industry. And I am a student doesn't mean that I want to remain in the academia. You understand? So that was me trying to introduce myself and tell her that, come, if there are things in your, these are the things I can do that you may hire me for as well. So what you tell people when you are introducing yourself depends on what you want the people to know about you. All right. So this was me. If you have not still subscribed to the Hewaris, please do so. I would want us to really just go and subscribe. It doesn't take anything. It's just you go there, you click subscribe, and that's it. You are connected with us, and you are learning and all that. So please, this is it. The link has just been posted in the comment section on YouTube. Click on subscribe. Click on the link and click on subscribe. The reason I don't want to shut this stream now is to enable you go there and subscribe, because once I end the stream, you may not be able to find that link anymore. All right. My research area is in biotechnology, microbial enhanced oil recovery, and bioremediation. Do you have any tips? I could have tips, but I would need to read your research proposal to be able to guide you properly. The unfortunate thing is, at the moment, I am as busy as anything. Writing a conference paper for NICE, preparing for my PhD viva, like a lot of things is just going on. So I'm not really promising to read anybody's work this time or to do preparatory interviews for anybody. But microbial oil enhanced oil recovery is a very good one, and it's easy to quantify the impact. It's easy to quantify what it can do. Try to make it related to Nigeria. Define the problem you are solving, define the scale of the problem, and define the implications of solving it. That's usually the way it goes. Yeah, and then prepare for questions, because they might ask you some things about those microbes. All right, so that was me today. To those who have followed and subscribed on Hawaris, please just I just want to say thank you to all of you. And then I want to finally wish you well. I want to pray for all of you that God will grant you success in this interview. And when God grants you success in the interview, don't forget God, because eventually everything we do is what God has given us opportunity to achieve. If you are able to win the scholarship, do not forget God. Many of you will travel abroad, and then when you get abroad, there will be temptation to not think about God. Although I think the scene is changing relatively, because the American government seems to be mentioning God a lot in the things they do. We may all disagree with their approach to certain things, but there is somehow a mention of God from big government. So hopefully, when you win the scholarship, you don't forget God. Pray for safety to the place you are traveling to, because there is significant level of insecurity in the country. Pray for favor with the people who are coming to interview you, and do the best you can to make a good first impression. Don't dress roughly. If you need to have a haircut, go and get one. If you need to buy a good shirt, go and buy one. What I wouldn't say is spending all your money to buy a suit if you don't have. But if you have a suit, please dress in a suit and go there. Anything. And that will be very profitable. If you have subscribed to the channel, just write done, and then we can bring this to a close. This is Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. Someone is saying, thank you very much. Can I contact you through? Yeah, my LinkedIn is open. You can always contact me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on Facebook. You can reach out to me on Twitter. Any of those. You can ask questions on YouTube. We are pretty much across every platform. You can even reach me on, what's it called, on TikTok. Yeah, the recorded session will be available for you to watch. If you don't find the recording for this year, you can go to the recording for the previous years, and that will be useful. All right, just try the best you can so that you master this process. Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. Mustafa, thank you for subscribing. Anybody else who has not subscribed, that's actually the way you say thank you for all the lessons and all the things you gained today. So if you are grateful for these explanations, head on to the comment section and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Like I mentioned, this is also for your benefit, because a channel that teaches you about money should be a channel that you want to subscribe to. And that's what we do on that particular channel. See you next time. Bye.